Nothing says bookworm like staying up till 2 a.m. just to find out the movie that's based on the book isn't coming out for 5 months. Hey, thank you for joining the Escape With Me Book Club. Escape with me, Sam Reiner.
And me, James Reiner.
Into our most recent read. Come with us as we evade reality and go into detail about a new book. We'll be covering the book from beginning to end, so there will be spoilers.
Well, technically, not beginning to end if you're counting it as a series.
We're doing the first 3 books.
Of a series. So beginning to end of each of the first 3 books.
Yes. Today we are going to Tokyo, Japan, mostly. Originally published October 1998 in a magazine and later in March 1999 as its own manga book, Love Hina is a highly successful series with over 20 million books in circulation as of 2022. But is the manga surviving through nostalgia alone? I know, spicy take. Or is there a story in there still pertinent almost 20 years later? All right, background. This is all you.
Do you want me to just give the background?
Yeah, how'd you find out about it and what was happening,
So, Love Hina is my first manga series. Before I discovered it, I was familiar with anime. Like, I had watched some anime growing up, like Dragon Ball Z. I was even there for the 90s period. I think it started in the 80s where they would take animes and make them more Western friendly. They would say where they would change the dubs and splice animes together. I think one of the more famous animes I really liked was called Robotech, which was like 3 animes spliced together into one. I believe the main anime it was spliced with was Macross, is the official name of the anime, but they created a Western version called Robotech, right? So I was familiar with anime. I just didn't know it was anime. Watching it, I was like, oh, this is fun. I didn't think, oh, it's from Japan, right? So that was about my exposure. I wasn't really that into Japan until high school. I had a friend behind me in French class, of all places, reading this manga. He was reading Love Hina, and I knew mangas existed, but I'd never really read one before. And he was reading it, and I asked if I could see it, and I open it up, and I see scantily clad women, and I shut it. I'm like, here you go.
Return.
And then I was like, can I see it again? Young, hormone-driven teenage boy. I was like, wait a minute, let me just kind of flip through that a little bit more. And I gave it back to him, and I was like, that's interesting. So I can't remember where I bought it. I just remember when I first saw a Love Hina manga. I bought 1, and then soon after that, I think I bought 2, 3, and 4. And then I bought all the way up to what they had out at the time. And then slowly, I bought the ones that came out after that. But anyways, yes, Love Hina is the first manga I ever read. It's the first one I've ever owned. It's really important to me, as you know, because usually when you borrow my books, I'm like, yeah, I trust you. I don't say much.
You're a responsible adult.
Yeah, but when you're like, I'm going to borrow the first 3 Love Hina books, I'm like, so.
Not only did I get the lecture before I borrowed him, I got them every single day. It was in my possession, if not multiple times.
So I'm paranoid for good reason. Like, I was pretty paranoid before, but I let one of my friends borrow it to read through, and he accidentally set it down on some water, I think was on the table or something, and the water warped the bottom of my first manga, and that water damage is still there today. And I was like, and I have been paranoid ever since, because this, like I said, is the first one I ever bought and owned. Because after Love Hina, suddenly I realized why I like Dragon Ball Z, the anime, so much, and I began to like other animes that were out at the time. Adult Swim had a lot of animes running, like Cowboy Bebop, Gundam Wing. I remember staying up really late to watch Gundam Wing Midnight Cut. It was scandalous because they cursed and showed blood late at night if you stayed up long enough to watch it. So, but suddenly I realized what all this was. It was coming from Japan. So during my high school years, I became borderline otaku, complete anime, manga nerd, loved Japan, totally wanted to learn the language and go there one day. A little obsessive. I became obsessive over Japan. And a big part of it's because of this manga. Reading it, I was like, I want this to be my life. I want to live in Japan. That would be awesome. I've changed since then.
Sorry sorry, just the way you said that.
Well, I know what people be like, oh, they got an idea. No. Since then, my interests have shifted. I'm not a teenage boy obsessed with Japan anymore. That is not to say I don't love Japan. If someone's like, hey, you want to go to Japan? I'll be like, heck yeah, that's a dream come true. Or if anything Japanese culture or language related, I still like to learn, but my interests is shift more towards literature now, science fiction literature, critical theory, stuff like that. So I'm not that anymore, but it's still a big part of me. It's still part of my identity, which I was reminded of when I reread these for this whole thing. I reread the first three, of course, even though I pretty much knew them by heart, and it was good feelings to revisit it. So now proceed to trash it, I suppose.
You're very nostalgic for it, though.
So I am, but I am prepared to have a critical eye. I'm going to use my English professor-ness to recognize certain things about it.
Which I think, I don't know, I always think that's stronger of a person to be like, I like this thing. I see where the limitations are. I see where the weaknesses are. I can have a critical conversation about it, but I still like it in the end. And I think that's way stronger than someone who would be in denial about it and be like, oh my goodness, how dare you say anything bad about it ever.
So yes, I am prepared to not be a prude about it all and be like, I can't believe you're attacking my favorite manga series. Teen Girl Squad. I'm sorry.
Team Girl Squad.
I sound like the strong bad Teen Girl Squad with my annoying voice. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay, so there we go. Background.
Yeah, my background is I never knew this existed.
Yeah, I imagine because you were young when it came out.
I wasn't much of a manga reader until middle school, where my friend was reading Shuguchara, which we've reviewed the first 6 for this podcast, and it's a trip. Like, that's all I can say. It was strange and whatever. And so I didn't really have the money to buy manga, and at the time my library definitely didn't have it. So most of my exposure to manga was actually through animes based on manga, which I'm sure that would just piss people off. But I mean, that's what I had. So I was watching Naruto, Yu-Gi-Oh, some of the other ones like that. And so that's my experience. Honestly, I knew in general there was a category of literature where it was harem, love story, whatever, and reverse harem, which I'm also for. But I've never actually sat down and read one.
Because I think at this point, there's been so many, and it's a cliche now. It's up there with all the other cliches that you don't even have to read a manga or watch anime, and you can be familiar with the cliche, with the stereotypes, because it's entered into the zeitgeist of what we think, oh, Japanese, oh, there's one guy that has a lot of women throwing themselves at him.
And here's my bias.
Okay.
It's not specifically for harem manga. This is my issue with American contemporary romance. The main character has to be relatable. You're supposed to relate with the main character.
Yes.
So for whatever reason, that means the author has decided that the main character is going to be the most milquetoast, lame, oh my gosh, I can't do anything right, I'm so clumsy, blah, 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 blah. And then the love interest, you're supposed to be attracted to them, you're supposed to root for this, you're supposed to want them. And so the love interests are always like 10 times better than them. And I'm just... I want an equal match.
I 100% agree with you. That is 100%. I mean, not all harem storylines from Japan are like this, but that is what the majority is. The main protagonist is a pathetic nobody or loser or struggling with something or something like that. And then all the love interests have all these quirky features about them that they're amazing at, which is definitely Love Hina. The main character is a dweeb, a loser. He can't get into Tokyo University. He can't talk to women. He's the clumsiest idiot in the world that keeps getting himself in trouble. The women around him are amazing. They're smart. They have skills. One's good at cooking. Another one's good at swords. Another one is super smart and starts tutoring them.
One of them is literally #1 in the country.
Yes.
On test taking. And this dude can't do basic trigonometry.
But to go back to your original statement, you got to relate to the protagonist, right? Stepping back and looking at myself, there's a reason I kind of fell in love with this as a teenage boy, which was is, oh my gosh, I feel so puberty and I hate myself and
school sucks.
School sucks and I don't feel like I do anything right and why don't girls like me and yada yada. I related to that, and I know that's probably why a lot of other men picked up Love Hina and they're like, oh my gosh, oh, this hits me in the feels because I feel like that at times, right? And I wish a whole bunch of girls fell into my life that were amazing people, right? So yeah, the trope is there, and that might be why, for example, you might have not related to the protagonist and you're able to even far more quickly point out the flaws there.
I don't relate to milquetoast. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but you're pointing out, and at the time, Love Hina, I doubt, is the first harem, but it is one that made it super popular.
No, I was kind of shocked that it was a 1998 publishing. I don't know when it came out. I assumed it was the early 2000s. It felt kind of early 2000s.
Right at that transition period.
So I am sure there are thousands of people that have read this and inspired or comforted or...
Yes, it's now looked at kind of as the grandpa early period. But I do want to, in a defense, though, and you're only 3 books in, so me is hindsight of looking at all 14.
It gets better.
Well, there's one thing at the surface when you start it, the person is a loser. He never does anything right. All the women are amazing. Guys can be losers. Women have to be amazing and perfect. I think this story shows that's not true as you go along, though. The thing with Kotaro, the main character, is not that he's a loser, is the fact that, and I saw this recently, someone explained it really well, Japanese culture loves heroes that never give up. They may be bad at something, but they do it anyways. They're going to put themselves into it. They may screw up, but they're just going to say, screw it, I'm going to keep going, right? And I think that's the key to his character, is he doesn't give up. There's moments where it looks like he's going to, but he decides to overcome it. And through the arc of the series, he doesn't remain a loser. He remains clumsy and he has certain flaws that never go away, but he achieves goals and accomplishes things. So I'd say at the beginning, he looks like milquetoast. By the end, there'll still be some milquetoast in there, but he's going to be actually some flavor there. And on the inverse of that, the female characters, and you see a little bit of this in the 3rd book, they're not perfect. You learn that they seem perfect, but as you learn more about them, they have their flaws as well, that they're not going to be these, I'm perfect at everything. They're going to have little issues with their character they have to work on. So yeah, I agree with you, but I also say there's something about it that there's a little bit more room of value there.
Which I can see how that would cross over to American culture and why it would be picked up here is because Americans have an obsession with underdogs.
Yes, they do.
So I can see how that would very easily cross over.
Yes.
But before we get too far into it, so let's talk about this guy. Hi, Ken.
Oh, I actually don't know too much about him. I know the other stuff he's worked on.
I'm going to talk about it, but I'm going to skip over his other work because him as a person, he got some interesting stuff going on.
I guess just to share what I know surface level, all I know is before Love Hina, he worked on something called AI Love You, which if you read it is very similar to Love Hina in certain ways. Then he did Love Hina, and then I know there was a series after that that I got into because I was so still Love Hina addicted. It was called Negima. It's based off magic and Harry Potter-esque kind of feel to it, but it's about this boy from England going to Japan to be a teacher for all these women. So again, harem. And that's about it. I don't know what he did much after that. So that's all I know about him. You go. You got your research on him.
So Kin Akamatsu, born in 1968, he was the son of a bureaucrat, so he moved around Japan a lot. Went on to go to college, study Japanese literature. He says that Sailor Moon was his start into anime and manga. And so that was really, really big for him.
That is not surprising now that you point that out.
Yeah. Even his art style.
Yeah, I could see it now. I mean, you look at the two, you could see how, this guy was inspired by Sailor Moon. Makes sense.
He worked in self-publishing magazines, winning awards before he went to Love Hina. He, like you said, did several titles before Love Hina, was award-winning, did Love Hina. I think that's probably his best-known work, but he does have numerous other titles. Anyway, we're going to put his little manga career, his big manga career over here in the corner and talk about the man. Because this dude, okay, so in 2010, he launched what is now called Manga Library Z, where people can download out-of-print manga for free. And he even published all 14 Love Hina books on the website for a whole month, where you could literally download it and just own it. And so that's still running and going. But he's a government official.
Oh.
Like a really high government official now.
That's interesting.
So he got really involved with, there's always a time period, but where people try censorship, and especially during a specific time period where they were worried about exploitative material about children.
Yeah, Japan has a problem with that.
Yeah, and they were very specifically going to outlaw a type of manga that is based around young girls or young-looking girls.
Yeah, that's called lolicon.
And he was against it. He seems to be a proponent that if it's fiction, it's fine, which I have some personal feelings about that.
Oh, I have feelings too. I disagree. I think that's fiction. No, I don't know about that.
But that being said, that's what he got involved in. He talked about it.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the government bringing in manga creators. If you're going to regulate something, talk to the people you're regulating.
Yeah.
So that's how he got involved in politics. And so he started advocating for that against censorship, very First Amendment, but, Japan.
Yeah.
Eventually, he went on to win a seat on the National Diet in 2022.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, that's their Congress.
Yeah, he is the first manga creator to be elected onto the National Diet. One of his early innovations is that he created a task force on a proposed legal framework for preservation of past and present Japanese video games in a playable state.
Well, that makes sense that a guy whose career was Japanese culture and art has done some policies that preserve Japanese culture and art.
Yeah, so that was one of his early innovations.
That is funny, hearing him be like, oh, he became a politician. Surface like, oh, that's interesting. I'm trying to think of an equivalent, and that'd be like hearing, oh, the guy who invented Adventure Time? Yeah, he's a senator now. You're like, what?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So that was pretty impressive in and of itself. But on November 13, 2024, he was appointed parliamentary vice minister for education, culture, sports, science, and technology. And he is currently parliamentary vice minister for reconstruction.
Interesting. Now, I wonder what's happened to him recently with Japan. It's had a lot of political shakeup. Anyways, I think we get off track, though, if we went too far into his political.
Yes. But, you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's like, huh.
Love Hina is a blip on the radar.
Okay, that is much better than I thought, because I don't know about you, but when someone's like, hey, have you heard about the creator of this thing you love as a child? I'm like, no, please don't tell me. I just want to be ignorant because I'm sure it's going to be terrible.
I don't want to know who's getting arrested for what.
Because I found out another anime I loved at the time, and manga. I love both the anime and manga, was Rurouni Kenshin. I was like, oh man, I love this anime and manga, right?
Oh yeah.
And I found out a year or two ago, for some reason I stumbled upon the creator. I'm like, oh no, no, come on. That manga series, that anime felt so good and wholesome, and I loved it. And I find out this person has been charged with some pretty nasty crimes.
What is the thing where it's like horror writers and creators are the most wholesome people ever?
Yeah, because Miyazaki, who creates Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away and all these high fantasy feel-good films, apparently he's a very depressed, bleak person when you talk to him, versus this famous horror artist, which I'm going to put in, horror manga. I got it. Manga artist. There we go. It's going to pull up because there it is. Junji Ito. He makes some of the most disturbing mangas that are infamously known, and he's a really nice guy in person. And I think a lot of the other horror ones out there are like that, which is funny. Anyways.
Yeah. So moving on to age level, I like how Japan separates teenage and older teens, 16 plus.
Yes.
Because there are definitely some YAs written for 12-year-olds, and then there are some YAs written for 17-year-olds. But are we really surprised he's anti-Lolicon getting exiled when he sexualizes a 12-year-old?
I mean, okay, yeah. I won't defend that. But I will say that sexualized is a strong word here. He always constantly acknowledges that they're underage and that it's inappropriate. But on the other hand, he still is depicting them sexually. So it's half and half. I know I'm splitting hairs. I'm like the guy who's trying to split the definition of pedophile. You never look good. So
yes.
Because in the manga, Kitaro, there's a 12-year-old girl who turns 13 in the manga.
He turns 20. He starts 19 and later on he's like, I'm a 20-year-old.
And he turns 20, but she has a crush on him a little bit. He's a little overwhelmed because a girl's actually talking to him and he finds her cute. So you're like, oh, great, he's sexualizing 12-year-old. But at the same time, he keeps acknowledging or at least the English translation, oh, this girl's underage. This is just a little girl.
Once again, it's not about the story. It's about the author. So it's content warning. And I'm going to say this first one and you're going to split hairs, but I'm counting nudity.
Yeah, I mean, according to if you see a butt, it's nudity, so go ahead. Let me explain this first, right? So for those who aren't aware out there, there's some certain Japanese terms. Here's two of them that's important to keep in mind. One is called hentai. If you haven't heard hentai, you older people out there who are like a chicken and a tie, no, hentai is the Japanese word for basically porn. It's anime and manga porn. And then you have this word called ecchi. It's not hentai, but it's close. It's meant to be titillating. And I wouldn't call it softcore porn because it's still not even at softcore porn. It's more like, I always think of the Titanic. James Cameron's Titanic when it came out. It had a PG-13 rating, but you saw a boob. But you still can't let kids go to it, right? So you're kind of like, So that's how I feel like this level. It is designated as an ecchi. I'm saying it a little wrong, but it's basically like, yeah, you're going to see a person's butt. You're going to see a woman step into a hot springs where the only thing covering her is two wisps of steam that cover her nipples. So you don't see nipples, but you pretty much see a naked woman, right? So that's the level we're dealing with.
If you're uncomfortable with nudity, you'll be uncomfortable with this book.
You will, yes. That's a good way to put it, too. It's literally like, hey, put these two stickers over your nipples and genitalia. There you go. You're not nude now. No, you're still nude.
Sexual harassment, suicide mentioned several times, actually.
Yeah.
As we've already alluded to, there is pedophilia in that a 12-year-old is sexualized. Is the main character always sexualizing her? No, but you do see her nude and panty shots. So, and then language. They do curse.
Yeah, occasionally, yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I'm not really surprised. He's like, if it's fiction, it's fine.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, his own work has, and again, he's not like saying out there like, oh, I'm totally fine with sexually assaulting minors.
Or anything real world.
Yeah. I mean, in Japan's culture is a bit different in that regard. We've got our Puritan heritage.
We do.
I could never imagine myself being naked around a bunch of, I mean, we do it occasionally, but we're comfortable about it, being naked among a bunch of our own gender, getting showers. And yet Japan is far more familiar and comfortable with open air baths where they do that. So it could be part culture, but also, again, I never felt nefarious. It wasn't like he was for it, but it's like I split before, whereas one side I'm like, well, he's not saying it's right, but another side is like, but he is showing a half naked 12-year-old.
I will say my piece and leave it there.
Yes.
There is a culture in Japan, not saying it's not here in America, it absolutely is, but there's a culture in Japan that sexualizes young girls and through media, similar to this manga, takes sexual harassment, sexual assault, and trivializes it.
Eroticizes it.
Also.
Yes, it is definitely, I agree, a serious problem.
There were some big people reviewing the series and great reviews and whatever, but one of them pointed out it got tedious, the fact that the major female love interest is Naru, and a lot of the manga is Kai, the main guy's name?
Kitaro?
And they always short it like Kei, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, it's Kitaro Urashima, yeah.
Kitaru makes a mistake and then sees a panty shot, sees her fully nude.
Yes.
Gropes her. And the book is her getting mad at him and being like, oh my goodness, you're such a perv. And so he was like, that happens way too often. And I'm just like, so this dude sees up her panties. Obviously, Naru is going to be traumatized by that, but there's this tone like, you're not allowed to get mad about that because he did it by accident. Constantly, over and over and over and over.
Well, step back. I agree with the repetitiveness. And again, it's for slapstick comedy. That exists in all kinds of cultures. But I would never say she's not allowed to get mad about it. If anything, it's encouraged for her to get mad about it. and hit him and punch him. It's actually addressed later in the manga how abusive she is. And it's like, yeah, he's doing something messed up, but you're kind of doing something messed up too. Why do you just keep beating him? The thing is, I get one side where it's like, oh, you're trivializing sexual assault. And I'm like, yeah, fair. But on the other side, it's meant to be, this isn't reality. No one accidentally sees someone naked this much. There's a point where you hit a point, it's like, oh, this is fiction. This is just played up for laughs, that he just seems to always stumble into a problem where he's seeing her naked or doing something stupid that gets him in a bad situation. I don't think Ken Akamatsu's saying this is okay because this is reality.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not saying it's okay.
Yeah, I know. But I agree. You know it's wrong when you have to sit there and explain it. And you're like, wait a second. This isn't going like I thought.
Here's the thing. It is played for laughs.
Yes.
But we have to acknowledge the fact sexual harassment, sexual assault is being used for laughs.
Yes.
And that's my piece.
Okay, fair. I'm not going to argue with that. I just also going to say this is a prevalent thing.
It is very.
I mean, I could point out a few other genres and famous things that do the same thing.
Oh, yeah. And America does it too. Straight up. Absolutely. It's not a Japan thing. It's just a fact of life, which sucks. So that's why I want to acknowledge there is a systemic.
And that's why you're using the word sexual assault. And I'm not going to argue with you on that. But there's a part where I want to split hairs there, because there's sexual assault and then there's sexual assault. There's nefariously going out and forcing yourself on someone or invading their space in an inappropriate way. And then it's always depicted as an accident. And even though it's repetitive, I think we need to take a step back and be like, but it was still an accident, though. It's not like Kataro's going out of his way to do something nefarious here. I know it's repeated over and over again, but the same basis, he's not like, ooh, I'm going to go peek on the girls. He never does that. So I agree. It's in the same realm in a way where it's sexual assault, but it's also not sexual assault because he's not nefariously going out and trying to do inappropriate things to them.
The intent is not there. I will agree with that.
Yes. And that's why I'm not going to say, hey, you can't use that word. No, it's still, I would say sexual assault, but it's to split a hair a little. It's a different kind of sexual assault. It's one that you should still apologize. Like there's points in the manga where he accidentally presses against a boob. In reality, I would go, oh my gosh, I'm so like, I would profusely apologize. I would be like, I'm going to try to make this where it never happens again. But it was still a sexual assault, even though it was an accident. So I'm going to apologize, right? Versus like, ooh, if I pretend to fall, then that's a difference, right? So it's still sexual assault in a big bubble, but it's a different kind of a sexual assault where it's not nefarious.
Yeah, because you would still acknowledge that could potentially harm the person you did it to.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though it was an accident, I'm still going to be like, that was inappropriate. And I apologize that happened. Even though it was out of my control, I'm going to still apologize for touching you or seeing you or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And the problem is this manga playing it for laughs. It's going to take a scenario where he's just always going to run into him or see him. And we're looking at the sexual side, and it is the forefront. But Kotaro is clumsy in so many other ways, too.
He falls out of trees like 3 times.
He falls out of trees. He'll walk down the street and a bird will poop on him.
He needs help.
We're forgetting that this doesn't happen to a real person, right? And that's what we need to remember. We don't need to sit here and be like, oh, this is no human being in his life will see a naked woman this many times in a row. He is not a real character. This doesn't happen to someone. This is played for laughs, right? So yeah, I agree with you. It's sexual assault, but I do want to make that distinction that it is not one where Ken Akamatsu or Kotaro is being like, hey, it's okay to assault women.
Yeah.
There is that difference there. But yeah, it is the elephant in the room. And age-wise, I don't know if a younger generation, more
Gen Z, more Gen Alpha.
Well, more familiar, more sensitive, more aware, maybe be the better word, of certain things.
How media can shape the culture.
Exactly. Their response to this would be different, and that's fine. But I still defend the fact that I don't think there's nefarious intent behind it.
And I'm not going to claim to be any sort of paragon of virtue for pointing that out, but it is the elephant in the room. I think it's a disservice to talk about this manga and not be like, so.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree. I mean, even me as a teenage boy, when I first opened it up, was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not going to deny it. There's a certain risque feel to it, a certain, I don't know. Comedy comedy is a tricky thing. I think a good example is the 9/11 jokes right now. It's going to hit with different audiences. There's timing. There's if people see it the same way. Comedy's tricky like that.
That's the thing. I'm wondering if once upon a time this wasn't viewed as punching down, but now we might look at it as punching down. And it's like, oh, we don't think that's as funny anymore.
Yeah. Maybe today it'd be they both see each other naked all the time.
Make it even.
Which actually, funny enough, not to spoil too much, there is a point where Naru goes to see Kitaro and he's getting dressed. But the thing is when you go to the next panel, Naru's apologizing and you can't see Kitaro's face. And she's like, I'm so sorry, Kitaro. I didn't mean to do that. Da, 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 da. And he's like, that's great. And he turns and his face has black eyes and bruises. He's like, why did I still get beat up though? So they kind of do invert it. Naru actually does accidentally stumble on Kitaro getting dressed. So again, it's not reality. It is being played up for comedy.
It is.
I'm glad we addressed it. Maybe we should probably move on and not beat a dead horse.
Yeah, my only thing is I started to like the story and then we would pull a comedy moment with that. And I'm just like, I was enjoying the story. Let's go back to the story.
Which I do want to emphasize. So when I first opened it, I was hooked. And I hate to say hooked, like I'm some kind of pervert.
You were a teenage boy. Surprise, surprise.
I was a teenage boy, though. I had hormones raging in me, so it was a bit of a hook. I was like, oh, this is weird. This is scandalous, right? But as I read it, I didn't keep reading it because of the scandalousness or the etchiness of it.
No, I'm kind of invested.
What hooked me wasn't that. What hooked me was the story.
There is a good story here.
Yes, I like the characters. I like the little teasing romance that they have. I fell in love with that. And that's why I really fell in love with this series. And especially now as an adult, to me, I'm not even fazed by it anymore, the little etchy silliness, because you kind of get numb to it when you read the series over and over again. But I'm here for the story now. I want to know characters. That's what hits me. The jokes. That's what hits me. So anyways, there's that long spiel.
Yeah. Like, I don't really have much for judge a book by a cover. You can tell from the front that it's a harem. If you're not interested in a harem, you probably won't like it.
I do have a gripe, actually. The cover of the first one is not the same in Japan as it is in America.
Are the rest of them the same and it's just the first one?
The rest of them the same, just the first one is different. And I think, again, it's a little sucky. You could tell that people are peddling to hormone teenage boys. The cover of the Japanese first one shows a appropriately clothed Naru with an appropriately clothed the other women of the inn around her.
Yeah.
But that's the original. It's fine. The English one, they're all in bathing suits. I don't know why. And the rest of them are the same.
Because Americans are just as bad.
Because Americans are a bunch of horn dogs, apparently.
Sex sells.
Sex sells. But yeah, I mean, manga itself will show the women in bathing suits unless with steam clouds in the way, so don't worry. But it is weird how the first issue, the first cover is different in Japan and America. It's a bunch of bathing suits. So anyways.
And it doesn't help that you already told me, but I was like, he's going to be basic. The girls are going to be amazing. And then he'll probably be annoying.
And the cover confirms this.
Yeah, and that's what I think I'm a little bit bummed about it. You know, in the year 2026, almost 30 years later.
Yeah.
We can go back and look at plenty of things in the 90s and be like, oof, yikes. But I got invested. So this dude, Kitaro, he is a second-year Ronin.
Do you want me to do it? I'm a little more fluid with the names.
Sure.
Okay, so the main character is a guy named Kitaro Urashima, and he's considered what's called a Ronin, which is someone who's studying to enter into a university like Tokyo University, but he keeps failing at the entrance exam. You can only get into the university if you pass an entrance exam, and he keeps failing it, and the reason he wants to get into Tokyo University is, before it became a cliche, he made a promise when he was a child to another little girl that he grew up with, but had to leave when his family moved away, and he can't remember this girl's name or what exactly she looked like, but he made a promise to her that he would get into this university.
Which you have another series that does that.
There's a few other, like I forget what it's called, the Forbidden Love one. It's about mafia kids or whatever. It uses the we made a promise as a child trope, which is hilarious. But there's plenty of others. I'm sure if you Googled a list, it would give you a list. But anyways, Kitaro's trying and he is failing. And he's terrible at life. His parents are telling him to stop trying and just join the family business. But he's determined to get into Tokyo University.
So he goes to his grandma's, who used to own a hotel. Now it's a girls' dorm.
Yeah, he doesn't realize that when he gets there. And you kind of get the background as he's waiting for his grandmother, who never shows up, by the way. You learn later she's
traveling the world.
She's traveling the world, right? But he assumes it's still an inn that anyone could stay at, like a hotel. And he gives his background. He's been terrible at school his whole life. Girls have never really paid him any attention. He's always awkward around them. And everyone has just treated him like what you have referred to him as milquetoast. He's just so basic and plain and pathetic. But anyways, he sees there's a hot springs for the hotel.
Skip over that, honestly.
No, I think it's important because it sets when you start the manga, this is where it says, if you don't like this, you're not going to like this series. So buckle up.
That's very true. I appreciate that.
This is the taste. So I want to be descriptive about this because this is when you get in your face what this manga series is about. He sees a hot springs. He's like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to go jump into the hot springs and relax, right? So he's in the hot springs. If you don't know about hot springs in Japan, a lot of people are just nude in it, right? They're bathing, but they're nude.
It's weird to have bathing suits.
Can have bathing suits. Sometimes the characters in the series will have bathing suits.
But it's considered uncleanly to be wearing outside clothes in a hot spring.
Exactly. It's just kind of the tradition. And Naruto, you can count on both hands the times they've been in hot springs. And it's just been a collection of them, and not in bathing suits, but just cleaning, right? Anyways, to get back to Kitaro, he's in the hot springs, right? It's hot. He's just waiting there. And all of a sudden, through the steam comes a naked woman. And again, it's ecchi, so you don't see full frontal nudity, but she's barely covered. Like, you see her bare butt when she steps in. You see her front, but she's covering it with like strands of hair and a towel.
You see all of her curves. They just didn't draw the nipple.
And she walks up to him and is like, hey, how are you doing? And it steps in and he's like, what the crap's happening right now?
She thinks he's one of the other
women in the
inn.
Right. And she's talking to her like it's another female, right? And she mentions, hey, look, my boobs have gotten bigger. And again, she's covering the bare minimum. And he's like, what the crap? And she basically reaches over to touch him. And that's when she realizes it's not her friend, it's a he. So she puts her glasses on, and that's a big trope in the series. This is Naru. She's the main female protagonist.
She probably has the same eyesight as me.
Yes, both him and her wear glasses, and they have terrible eyesight, which leads to lots of hilarious situations, right? But she puts the glasses on, sees it's a guy, naked guy of her, and begins to scream because, of course, she thinks it's some pervert who's worked his way into the building. She has no idea who he is. So he panics and starts running away. And as he's running through the inn, you're basically introduced to all the characters who are beginning to chase him down because Naru naturally accuses him of being a pervert who snuck in to do disgusting things. So all the other females chase him down. So I felt it was important to explain all that because this is the series. Misunderstandings, Kitaro always bumbling into a situation where he sees her nude or naked or getting dressed.
He flashes somebody in this scene.
Oh, in this scene, yeah, he's running and the towel.
He flashes someone. He accidentally, quote unquote, steals panties.
Yeah, he runs into someone who's carrying their laundry and it falls on. And honestly, at this point, what we're explaining, you're like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that in this anime or seeing that in this manga. It's well-known tropes now. I mean, you'll probably run into something where the character will bumble into someone and panties will fall on their head and now they're accused of being a panty stealer, or someone didn't realize it was a mixed bath and they're being accused of. It's kind of cliche at this point. But yeah, that is the series. I mean, he just keeps bumbling himself into situations where the girls beat him up or accuse him of being a pervert.
Which, can we talk about how they just all sit there and have this conversation with the dude sitting there and they don't call the cops?
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but from a few people I know in Japan, sexual assault is really bad.
I know, and that's why we had that conversation.
I know, it's improving, but yeah, it's like, oh, you didn't call the cops? And like, things are so bad there at times. Anyways, back to the story. So Kitaro finds out that it's not an inn anymore. It's not something where people come, families and stuff. In order to travel the world, his grandmother turned it into a women's dormitory. So a bunch of women are staying there. And they're not happy about the idea of this guy staying there. So they're immediately like, you got to get out of here, right?
Until he mentions, and they misunderstand, Tokyo University, and they think he's already in Tokyo University. So Kitsune, who is his age, even though later on she's like, oh, you need an older woman to teach you how to do stuff, even though you're the exact same age.
Yeah, and we'll get to characters, I'm sure, in a second, but she's a funny kind of stereotype as well.
She's a gold digger.
No, she's not a gold digger.
Oh, she is. She's like, I'm going to hook up with him because he's Tokyo U and he's going to be a lawyer and he's going to be rich.
Okay, fair, but that's not her dominant personality trait. Her dominant personality trait is she's a writer, she's a little edgy.
She's opportunistic, let's say that.
Yeah, I think she doesn't right now, but I think later she smokes cigarettes. It's this whole kind of cliche, jaded author kind of character in Japan. Like, you'll see other characters, like Kitaro's aunt is there. She runs a tea shop nearby, and she's the one that rescues him, by the way. She points out that he's the grandson of the owner, and they kind of back off just a little bit. I guess that's why the cops weren't called. But, well, they probably just kill him. I mean, they got someone on grounds who she uses a sword. But anyways.
She is pretty cool, yes.
She's an interesting character, too. But his aunt saves him. But she's kind of that type, too. She's always smoking. She's kind of too cool for school, really laid back, stuff like that. Anyways, they misunderstand and think he's a Tokyo University student. And when he kind of realizes, like, he keeps kind of pathetically trying to tell them the truth, but he's not very good at it.
Oh, no. Wait, you misunderstand?
Oh, this misunderstanding, I need to clear it up, but then maybe not. So anyways, he sees an opportunity to stay there, so he kind of indulges the lie pretty much full on eventually.
Because his parents kicked him out and he needs a place to stay so he can study.
Because they don't believe him. They're like, you're wasting your time trying to get into this university. You're an idiot. You're never going to get in. So he kind of indulges the lie, and it doesn't last too long. He eventually gets outed and they try to kick him out. But it continues the whole trend. Again, this wouldn't happen in real life. All these perfect, unlucky situations stacking together for hilarity's sake doesn't happen to real people. But yeah, they at first think he's a Tokyo University student, so they want him to stay, but then eventually he's outed and he's about to get kicked out when a letter comes in from his grandmother basically saying, hey, Kitaro, I give the inn to you. You're now the hotel owner. And that's how we set up our scene where he officially lives in this house full of women. And I say women, but really it's girls, just to address that.
So let's talk about the characters a little bit. Let's talk about the girls. They're awesome.
Yeah, I was about to say that'd be easier than trying to do every little, because that's really what the plot is for at least the first book and a half, is just meeting the characters really, than plot-driven progression.
They do the thing where it's like, oh, this section has this character, and this section's about this character, and this section's about this character.
Exactly. Because to remind the audience, this was a serial. It came out in a
magazine.
Yeah, I think it was a monthly magazine or weekly or something. I mean, Naruto's the same way, but you're going to get little segments.
So each manga has 5 publications, what came out in the magazine.
Yes, exactly. So it's very serial in nature. But yeah, you meet the characters. So let's go through the characters. You want to do the first one, babe?
So Kitsune is the first one we're introduced to. Well, given a name, obviously Naru. But her name is actually Mitsune, but they call her Kitsune because that means fox.
Yes.
We kind of talked about her a little bit. But the next one we get introduced to is Shinobu. Well, that gets named. She's the 12-year-old. Apparently, her parents are dead, left her a small inheritance.
I don't think they're dead. I think they're just divorced.
Oh, okay. I don't know. The third book, she's like, my parents left this to me, and I need to make it last. And so I was like, oh, I guess they're dead.
No, they left that to her to live on. If I'm not mistaken, they're just divorced. They're not good parents. Neither one of them wants to raise her, so she just kind of is raised on her own.
Okay.
When she learns the misunderstanding that he's a Tokyo U student,
oh, the poor thing.
Turns her little crush into him into I want to enter Tokyo University as well.
Yeah, she sucks at studying, and she's like, oh my goodness, I'm not smart. I can't do anything. I'm not useful. Whatever. He's like, no, but even an idiot like me can get into Tokyo University. And that really encouraged her. And then she found out he's not, and that he's a liar, and it really hurt her.
Yes.
And so now a part of him getting in Tokyo U, he's like, if I get into Tokyo U, I'm not a liar. Which, you're still a liar, my man, but okay.
You know what he means, though.
You still lied about being in Tokyo U. You just got into it later.
Yeah.
But to prove that, hey, even a loser like me can get into Tokyo U, to encourage her.
Yes. Well, I think what he's saying is, yeah, he lied, but he's turning the lie into a truth that if he can get in, she can get in. I think he's trying to keep that maintained.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny enough, so I'll ruin a little bit. Shinobu's situation where she's a sweet girl, she has a crush on an older man, she's not very good at studying. You learn that actually Naru is like that. And that's kind of why Naru's protective of her.
Yeah, she sees her in herself.
Exactly.
Yeah, because to get into her, she's next. 2 years ago, her grades were trash.
We're terrible.
And then something happened. She made this promise with this person, and she turned her grades around. And like we said, she's now #1 in the country.
Exactly.
For practice exams and stuff. But can we talk about how Kitaro's an idiot? He thinks for 2.5 books,
Yes.
or at least 2 books, that Naru is this girl he met. And the entire time I'm like, do basic math.
There's a reason he doesn't get into Tokyo University, okay? He can't do math.
15 years ago, you were 4 turning 5. She would have been 2. She finally points it out, and I was like, thank you.
Yeah, the first 2 books build up that is Naru. I mean, they build it up. I mean, even the audience. I mean, I guess you figured out me as a kid or teenager, not a kid. I mean, in my eyes, now as an adult kid. But anyways, you think, oh, yeah, it's definitely Naru. And then she reveals at the beginning of the 3rd book, oh, no, I was 2. There's no way I could be your crush.
She's 17, you idiot.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, you get the first 2 books, heavy implications that it's Naru. And Kitaro's like, is she the girl I made the promise to? And then at the 3rd book, it's revealed she is not the girl I made the promise to.
Because she has to point out basic math, and I can't.
Anyways, so in harem mangas, you tend to have either 1 or 2 or maybe 3 people who are the main contenders. The other girls might have crushes on the main male character. They may interact.
But they're not in game.
But they're not in game. You can tell the other girls are just side characters, really. You know this person or these 2 or these 3 people are the real contenders. Naru is the real contender. You know she's the one that has the most page time. She's interacting with Kitaro. What happens is he finds out she's the best in the nation, and she's really good at studying, and she's studying to get into Tokyo University as well. So when Kitaro finds this out, at first she's reluctant and doesn't want to help him because he's a pervert. But then slowly she agrees to tutor him and help him, and eventually they're studying together all the time, and they make a promise to each other that they're going to get in together, which is what Kitaro confuses for the promise with the young girl when Naru's like, we made a promise to each other, and Kitaro's like, she's the girl, and then a few moments later it's like, oh, you misunderstood. I meant the promise we made a few months ago. I was 2. I couldn't have made that promise with you. So they're both studying. So you know she's the one that the plot's going to push them together, right?
Yeah.
Until book 3, and then we meet up. But we'll get to that character in a second.
So Sue is another 13-year-old. She's a foreign exchange student. She is the very obvious display of Japanese being racist against Indian people. She's not Indian, though. She's from a mysterious... He calls her an Indian girl constantly.
Well, that's because she has darker skin. And you find out later she's a Pacific Islander. She's from some nation in the Pacific on an island.
But she's crazy. She doesn't know Japanese, so she confuses language. She is a nut. She would exhaust me. She exhausts them.
Definitely is hyper. She climbs on people. She's constantly hungry for food and will eat food. She loves technology. You got a taste of that in the 3rd book. You find out more that she's obsessed with technology as the series goes along. But she's the eccentric, super energetic young girl, just bonkers. And again, she's not a main love interest. I mean, there's going to be a couple arcs where Kitaro gets to know her better, or he finds out little things about her. And you saw a taste of it. I think it was in the 2nd book where she told Kitaro that she loved him. And it was part mistranslation, but part Sue tells that to everyone kind of thing.
Yeah. And honestly, it's not going to go this way, but I ship her more with... Okay, do they use her first name or her last name for Aoyama?
It's Motoko.
Motoko? They stay more formal with her.
In the Japanese, because she's so traditionally Japanese, they might use last name, but the English translation, they just call her Motoko all the time.
So Motoko is a 15-year-old. She is a sword master.
Oh, yeah.
Like, holy crap. So good.
She comes from a family in the mountains of Japan that have studied the sword technique for generations.
She can cut leaves as they're falling out of a tree.
She splits boulders with her sword swing. Like, it's the cliche, and that's what they're doing here. They're taking the cliche sword mangas that have preceded Love Hina, and they're making fun of it in the comedy.
Like Rurouni Kenshin.
Rurouni Kenshin's a good example where these swordsmen from 19th to 18th century Japan have such crazy sword technique techniques. They could do ridiculous physical stunts like split boulders in half or cut things and put them back together. Just ridiculous stuff. And Love Hina's kind of poking fun at that, just making this 15-year-old high school girl insanely good with the sword. But yeah, she hates Kitaro.
Fair. She thinks he's a wimp.
Exactly. She thinks he's a perverted coward, of course, for good reasons, because he is. But she's usually collected, very traditional. She probably, if you're reading the Japanese, uses very polite, traditional Japanese phrases and stuff like that. When you're familiar with someone, you would use different verbs than you would use with someone who's higher than you. Like, you wouldn't talk to your boss the same you would talk to your roommate. With your roommate, you would have a shortened version of the verb. With your boss, you would have a more flowery version of the verb. Just a degree of respect. It's the way you conjugate your verbs and add extra phrases in Japanese.
Yeah, there was a comedian talking about, they worked in Japan for a bit, and they were talking about how for Japanese people, the longer the phrasing, the more respect. And so she was talking about, it was like your roommate or your close friend, like, oh, you look good today. And then the bit was how long she could continue a sentence basically saying that whole thing.
Yes. From what little Japanese I know, you could say thank you to someone by going arigato or domo. Domo's really short. That's very casual. But if you were talking to some stranger, you would be domo arigato gozaimasu. That's thank you versus arigato, which is just a short like thanks.
And the more respect, the longer that sentence gets.
Yes. What I just gave from what little Japanese I remember is what you'd give to a casual stranger. There's another form of thank you that you would give to a superior that has even more different embellishments to it. So Motoko is probably the type to use the more embellishments. She's more traditional. She's more collected. Though you saw one of her plots where she thinks she's in love with Kitaro and she hates her.
This is my favorite one. Can I tell it?
Yeah, tell this one.
So she also doesn't spend time with boys. So she's worried he catches her or something. And she's like, oh no, what is this feeling? I feel hot. My heart feels fast. Why do I feel weak? Oh no, is this love? And then at the end, the joke is, no, she just had a cold.
Yeah, she was sick and she confused it for love.
And so that's why she felt like that. She's like, oh, thank gosh.
To the point where she has a duel with Kitaro and wants to kill him.
Only one of us is surviving this.
Being this, like, I will have to kill you. I refuse to be in love with you. And then you find out she's sick. But here's the thing. Motoko, I think, hates Kitaro because she, in a way, is like him.
She views some of his weaknesses as her own, and she cannot stand weaknesses in and of herself.
Exactly. You get to see this with other plots. You're going to see it more. She's more similar than him than she likes to admit. She's so used to being so good with a sword, she doesn't know how to socialize with people. She doesn't know how to be a girl. She doesn't know how to talk to boys. She is good at a sword, but she's not good at anything else, really. So you kind of learn that about her, and you learn more about her family. It's interesting. I think you'll like the ways that Motoko's... But yeah, you get a little taste of that, and I think it's the end of book one, where she thinks she's in love. And that's a common cliche plot device in Japanese manga as well. It's like, I'm in love. No, you're just sick.
Yeah, rope bridge theory. Sorry. You were just on a swingy rope.
But anyways, that's all the main girls. The main girls, there's 5 of them. Naru, Kitsune, Shinobu, Motoko, and Sue. Those are the main 5.
And over the first book, they're trying to get him out.
Oh, yeah.
At first, they're just being mean to them and be like, you need to leave. And then, please tell me this gets explained. His grandma faxes over that, no, I give this to Kitaro. But my first thought was immediately like, that's so rude to Haruka, the aunt, the grandmother's daughter who's running the cafe and is being house mother of this dorm.
She doesn't want to run it. So yeah, you learn more. You never meet the grandma. You only kind of see her briefly, I think, near the end. But yeah, the grandmother, being old, knows a little bit more what's going on in this dynamic. And you kind of learn a little bit about that. So I'm not going to ruin anything, but she gives Kitaro the in, it's implied, because she knows he needs this.
So he can't go anywhere. So they're like, crap. Well, we could just make this absolutely miserable and then he'd leave. And so they go out of their way to make it absolutely miserable. Eventually they stop. They make up basically by the end of it.
Yeah, they try to kick him out by overworking him and treating him poorly, but slowly the girls are won over to treating him better. I'm not going to say they like him, but I'm going to say they're going to stop abusing him.
But Haruka points out, it's like, you guys have had more fun this past week.
Yeah. You're going to see, like, there's going to be a few situations where Kotaro has to leave, or the girls realize when he's missing or gone, or something he does. They're like, oh, wait a minute. He's kind of more of our lives than we realize. He actually is our friend.
Yeah.
We should treat him better. They never treat him better.
And he starts actually acting like a friend. Let's say that.
Yeah. Well, and again, he starts milquetoast, as you like to put it. He starts pathetic, but he begins to grow and become his own. He never stops being a clumsy idiot that for some reason has the cosmos forcing him to always be a perv, but he does improve. He does become a different person and a better friend to them.
Yeah. So that kind of goes on. The big plot is getting into Tokyo U. He eventually gets Naru to start helping him.
Yes.
He's finally understanding things. She's a really good tutor.
Yes.
And the way it's set up, it explains in the book, you have to take a center exam, so like a third-party exam to even qualify to take the Tokyo U exam. So they're preparing for that exam. He manages to pass.
Yeah, that's the Christmas episode.
There is a Christmas episode.
Yeah, Christmas is he makes a big promise to his family. He's like, if I pass this...
Oh my goodness, I can't with this promise.
Mid-exam, if I get so good that if I fail it, I will come home, right?
He fails it.
He fails it, and he doesn't tell anyone. He tries to just leave the inn, and they think he's a thief, and they chase him down.
And he falls out of a tree again.
Yeah, and then he escapes, and they're like, oh, it's Kotaro, let's go get him. And Naru's like, no, let's not go get him. He's a pathetic loser, and he doesn't deserve our pity, yada, yada, yada. And she's mad because he accidentally read her journal, because of course he did, because he's an idiot.
He did not accidentally. He made that choice to read her diary.
He did make that choice, but literally this is an example. It's not just about nudity and perverted stuff. He goes to fix the hole. They have a hole between their rooms that because Kotaro's staying in his grandmother's old room, his room is below Naru's, so there's a hole, and he learns this, of course, by sticking his head up the hole and seeing Naru change. But it's a way for him to go up there and study with her, right? And she complains about the hole, and he decides to try to fix it. But when he's up there, he falls into the bookshelf and knocks her diary open.
And he goes, oh no, it would be very terrible of me to read her diary.
So he tries to put it back, but then he sees 15 years ago, and he's like, what the crap? What does that mean? So he starts to try to read it, and she catches him and is understandably very upset with him. Not to the, I'm going to punch you.
Well, I think that's a more real hurt, because up to that point, yeah, accidents, but he made a choice.
Choice there, yeah.
And that was very, very uncool.
Uncool, yes. Which he admits, which it would have been better if he apologized first, because that's how he doesn't leave. She shows up and she punches him and says, now I forgive you for the diary. And then she apologizes to him for kind of jumping the gun a little. And then he thankfully apologizes to her for reading her diary. But that's the Christmas episode. And she convinces him he doesn't need to go home because he failed that mid-exam.
But what about the thing he said to his mom? Does he tell his parents, no, I totally passed? Or is he just pull back and be like, actually, I did fail, but I'm still gonna stay here? It's completely glossed over.
So you never meet his parents, but you learn later his family owns a very well-off candy franchise. He's actually rich, or his family's rich. Understandably, his grandmother owns a hotel, of course, but his family is trying to convince him to run the candy shops. Forget school, just become rich with us. And he's like, no, I gotta go to school. So there's a part of me like he has this weird relationship with his parents. I imagine them as stuck-up snobs who have a lot of money, and they're like, stop trying to be an academic, come be rich with us by making candy. So I think he just ignored them, honestly, which he's kind of doing on and off throughout. So yeah, they never address how he's able to get out of it, but he never leaves.
No, it's so funny. That was why I was like, this promise, you've got to be kidding me.
But yeah, so the first two build up to this entrance exam with Naru and Kotaro studying and hijinks on the side. But the end of the second one, he's convinced because he's screwing up so bad in this test, he's about to leave. And Naru's in the same room with him, gets up and shouts, you made a promise to me. Aren't you going to fulfill it? Basically. And he's like, yeah, she's the girl. I can do this. And he does really well at the first day of the exams, but then on the second day when they're walking to do the second exam, in his mind he's like, oh, she's the girl, we're gonna have this relationship, it's gonna be great, I found the love of my life. She finally figures out, oh, you misunderstood me, I meant our promise that we made a few months ago, I'm not the girl you made the promise to. This breaks Kotaro and he screws up the exam and he ends up failing. But you also learn, and this feels a little derived, of course, like you're thinking, oh, she's so good at studying and she's so smart, suddenly this happens. Naru fails it too. She doesn't get into Tokyo University, and they get in a huge fight about it.
He's so dumb. He's like, why are you running away? I don't understand. upset. Ba-da-da-da-da.
I know you got into Tokyo University, but that doesn't mean you should treat me like this. Yeah, he's 100% dumb here.
The IQ and the EQ can't be single digits.
I know. Yeah, they both go to look at their scores. He sees he fails, and there's this really cool shot I always like where it just says, I fell, and it just shows him looking off into the sky. I always like that shot. I know it's silly. It's a very small shot. But anyways, he turns, and Naru's already leaving, and he's like, what the crap? And he starts chasing her down, and you don't see her face. And we as the audience are like, she fell too. But he's like, what's going on? You know, anyways, he chases her down. He finds she's crying, and he realizes finally she fell too. They go to a bar to drink their woes away, and they get in a huge drunken fight and just tell the worst things to each other.
Yeah, they are nasty to each other.
They're really nasty to each other. He calls her basically, no wonder no guy likes you because you wear Coke bottle glasses.
Which, the hypocrisy. Anyway.
I know. I know. And she, like, even if you met that girl, she wouldn't want to get to know you because you're just a pathetic idiot pervert. Just nasty things to each other. So they both leave because they failed. They decide to take a trip to Kyoto, and they don't realize they're both taking the same trip to Kyoto. So the third book is basically them going on a vacation to kind of forget about failing the exam, but they keep running into each other, and slowly their fight is mended. They mend their relationship a little bit. And while they're doing this thing, the other characters are trying to chase them down because they have, of course, as always, misunderstandings. They think they eloped and they're off to go celebrate their honeymoon. So they want to go chase them down. So the side characters are doing all their stuff as well. But the real important thing, I gave you kind of the gist of the third book, but the real important thing is we're finally introduced to another girl.
Yes. We're talking about
Mutsumi.
Mutsumi.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Unleash, because I got my stuff to say about her too, but go ahead.
I can't stand her.
I knew you would. She's terrible.
Here's the thing. I liked her till she broke the girl code, and then that's just unforgivable. Oh, she kisses everyone. I don't care. She starts off, she's like, I don't have any friends. Oh my goodness, I'm anemic, but I don't get any medical treatment. And so I could randomly just fall off a ship and kill myself. Oh no. And you're like, oh, that's sad. And then she's clumsy, and it's like, oh, she's like Kitaro.
That's it. She is the female Kitaro. That's what Naru realizes eventually. She is a woman that Naru and Kitaro run into on their vacations. They finally decide to have their vacation together since they're on the same path anyways. And they run into this girl who is clumsy, and she faints all the time, and she keeps screwing things up. And Naru realizes this is the female Kitaro. She has failed to get into Tokyo University 3 years in a row. She just doesn't know how to do life.
She's like, I live on an island. Oh no, we don't have money for a boat. I brought a raft. Let us just row there. They managed to get stranded on a quote-unquote deserted island. Turns out it's her backyard. You know, that stereotype, though. Even Golden Girls did it in the 80s.
I like that trope. I've seen it a few. American Dad did it really well, where they thought they were marooned on an island. They realized they're on the other side of a resort.
I thought Golden Girls did it really well, but I was already mad at her.
So why are you mad at her? Go ahead and explain what happens.
Because she goes out of her way to be like, oh wow. She realizes, oh my gosh, he has a crush on her, and she's mad at him because she thinks he likes me.
Yes.
And she's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I did not mean this at all. Obviously you like her. Let me help you. I'll go tell her that you like her. Goes, tells her. He's like, oh yeah, I'm totally for you and this dude getting together and whatever. She's being a good friend. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I like this girl. We need someone to see through the BS and just be like, hey, he likes you. But while they're on the deserted island and whatever, she just decides to kiss Kitaro.
And Naru sees it, yes.
And Naru sees it, and Naru's pissed. And I agree with you. I would also be pissed. What do you mean he'll like me and then you're kissing this other girl? But oh, it's okay because she kisses Naru in the end. She's like, oh, I kiss everybody I like. No, this is why you don't have friends. The worst wing woman.
Yeah, so yeah, Naru gets mad when she sees that Mutsumi kisses Kitaro. She runs off. There's the whole epic romance scene where Naru's trying to walk away like, no, you will be happy together. I hate you both. You know, walking away. And Kitaro's like, wait, Naru, you misunderstand. Then they trip and he falls on her, and it's this romantic sunset, and they're partially in the water on the ocean.
They're about to kiss.
They're about to kiss. He's standing over, and then, of course, Musumi's one of her family members members is in a boat watching them, and the boat goes off, and they're like, what the crap? But yeah, Mitsumi kisses Naru before they leave, and it's like, oh, I kiss everyone. So you get to know this isn't the last we're going to see Mitsumi. I apologize to ruin that for you, but she shows up at the end eventually, and it becomes more of a triangle a little bit. Though, let's be honest, we all know that Naru and Kitaro are going to end up together. It's just the question of how at this point.
So what I'm hearing is I'm right to be sus.
Yes, she shows up, and she's not the only one. There's going to be other characters that show up and throw. I'm going to, a little spoiler, little tease. The guy that Naru had a crush on, he shows up.
Yeah, so it's kind of hinted at that it was a boy that she made the promise with, and so you're like, ooh.
Yes.
Naru's got a boyfriend. Not really, but.
Not really, yeah.
We're about to we almost get it, and then we don't.
Exactly. Like, you remember the scene where they're on the pier of some sort, and it's just Naru and Kitaro, and they're looking at each other, and suddenly they're leaning in a little bit, and it looks like they're going to kiss, and then out of nowhere, Sue kicks him in the head. That is symbolic of what happens. They're so close to getting together. They're so close to expressing their feelings, and then this person shows up, or this thing happens, and it ruins it. And it's going to be like that for like the next few issues. It's a little frustrating in a good way. I mean, the plot progresses.
We got to make this last 14 books, guys.
14 books, yes. So there's going to be a lot of teasing and a lot of blocking and a lot of, oh, they're about to kiss, and then they don't. So yeah, just be prepared for that whenever we get to the next three.
Oh dear. Well, who doesn't love that? It's a slow burn. No, it's I light a match and you blow it out.
To go back, so I don't know if we've done the plot justice here explaining it. It is a bit chaotic, but there's just something about it. Watching these two, it was one of my first manga romances. And I don't know about you, but I know even from a young age, I've been a sucker for a good romance story. You don't like when the romance is the main plot. Like, I can't get into just a romance book, period. But if you give me a comedy, if you give me an action movie, if you give me something where the romance is in the background, I dig the crap out of that. And this is that book. It's a comedy, and I enjoy the comedy and the slapstick. And when I was a teenager, my hormones were quite happy with the titillation. But the plot just really pulled me in. I really started to like these characters. I liked how they were studying to get into Tokyo U, and it kind of made me realize when I was a teenager that I wanted to get more serious about studying and being smart. So I kind of attached to that a little bit.
That is very sweet.
Yeah, I could kind of thank Love Hina for the fact that I was like, you know what, I'd like to be smarter. I'd like to study more. I'd like to be more knowledgeable.
Because it wasn't until you were already an adult that you were like, I like literature. I like studying. I like to read this stuff. So it sounds like this was like a step on your way.
It was an important, there were a couple steps to get me to what I am today, but this was an important one. And it showed me blended romance with studying as sexy, as silly as that sounds. But yeah, Naru and Kitaro studying made me realize I really like the appeal of that idea, just sitting down and becoming really good at something and studying.
Like you wanted to be that person too.
Yeah, exactly. And now I have a master's in English. I enjoy being academic.
But yeah, so, and I'm glad they pointed out why, and they didn't just make it, you know how some books it's like, because magic. This would have been because anime, because manga.
They both read the same travel guide in the inn back home.
And so they're taking the same circuit, they stay at the same hotel, like all of that.
It'd be like taking a trip to Washington and you and some other person, your roommate, find the same little pamphlet that says, this is the stops and places you should go. That's what they do. But yeah, it's to show off Kyoto. I mean, I don't know how many animes and mangas like to show off Tokyo or Kyoto. It'd be like basing a comic book in New York and not showing the Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty. It's like it's a chance to show off these monuments and locales.
Yeah, because there is one of the stories, it's New Year's, they're going to a temple. Oh no, he pulled the bad luck one. No, all the bad luck.
Oh gosh, that's just the epitome of the story. Kitaro pulls a fortune and it says you will have the worst luck possible in the world.
And it's all because of women.
Women. If you're near women, it gets worse. And he's like, ah! He keeps trying to avoid all the women he lives with because of the bad fortune.
And it's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, like when Motoko's like, all you have to do is tie it to a tree, let me help you. And he's like, oh, she's so nice, as he's holding her on his shoulder so she could tie it to a tree. And he suddenly realized, wait, she's a woman. And then he panics and she tightens her legs and almost chokes him out and just terrible stuff. But yeah, it's just the epitome of Kitaro. He has the worst luck in the world.
I think that was pretty strong for their relationship. The whole Kyoto thing was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I think so too. Yeah. The hotel they're staying at sees they have the same address, so they assume they're lovers and they put them in the same room.
That was the thing. I was like, they could be living at an apartment building, ma'am. Like,
I know. Again, the universe wants to pick on them. Anyways, but yeah, I like that they just don't mull it over. It builds. Like at first, Naru doesn't want to see him when they keep running into each other. And then she reluctantly agrees to be nicer to him and say, well, I guess we won't see each other again. And then they realize they're in the same room and they start to, I don't know, bond a little bit. They play ping pong. They eat some food together. They talk about a few things.
like they actually do friend stuff.
Yes. But yeah, it progresses well. And it's the little moments like that, not just the silly, the universe hates them, I'm going to accidentally see you naked stuff. It's the little things that builds their relationship as well. So the first two volumes deal with them studying for the entrance exam. And the beginning of the third volume, they fail it. And then the rest of the third is them taking the vacation. The way we're left off is that Kitaro and Naru are unsure if they want to try again for Tokyo University. That's how 4 picks up, is they're still unsure and we're going to move on from there. But seeing that, I have a question for you. Where do you think this is going to go from here?
Well, it's definitely hinted at that Kataro's like, okay, I'm going to try again.
So you think even though they're teasing it, it's like a definite, he's definitely going to try again?
I would be surprised if he didn't.
Okay.
Just because, like I said, at the end of the book, it's kind of hinted at. He's like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this.
Okay. So you think Kataro's going to try for Tokyo U again? What about Naru? You think she'll try again?
I think we have at least another part or maybe an entire book before she agrees to, because she strikes me as a perfectionist. So if it didn't work the first time, she's going to be upset about it. And I think eventually his can do, I'm going to keep trying. I don't care if I'm a third year. No matter what, I'm going to keep going because I made a promise. Bah, 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 bah. And I think eventually that is going to inspire her to keep going. I don't think she's immediately going to keep going. Or we're going to have a less cool option where she's like, you're the reason I failed. Having to study with you was awful, so I'm gonna do it by myself. That is also an option, but I like the first one better.
All right, well, good to know.
General thoughts. I mean, it's hard to know how serious to take it sometimes because it does try to pull humor and stuff. It's not quite like a rom-com.
Yeah, it's definitely uniquely Japanese.
It's more slapstick. Like the jokes, it's kind of part of the plot, but for the most time, it's just like a one-off excuse for him to get beat up.
The series itself eventually acknowledges the repetitiveness of it.
Yeah, I agree with the critic who is like, I really like the story, but this gets repetitive.
Well, even the story makes fun of the repetitive to the point where we get numb to it and the story points out, this is weird that she always beats him up every time and he keeps doing this. And also points out, like, to the point where they just all accept it at one point at this weird background, oh, this always happens kind of thing. It's weird. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, that, I don't know. I like the plot and the silliness, the slapstickness, I feel is a part of it. I wouldn't want to remove it, but it feels just so background noise to me as well, though.
Yeah, because you've read it so many times.
That, like I say, you get used to it. It's like, oh, this is the same old little shtick. It's how they be.
Yeah.
It'd be like, oh, Naruto's going to stand up and say, believe it. Or Goku's going to say, you're strong. It's just part of the whole background of the story.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I would wonder if this storyline came out today, would it have been as successful with now generation of teenagers than it would have been at the time? A little bit of it is a product of its time, I think.
Well, funny enough, I do feel like when I read the, what is it called? Forbidden Love? There it is. False Love. That's what it's called. So it's called Nisekoi, False Love. It started in, it looks like 2011, ended at about 2014, 2015. It's the same thing. It's a childhood promise. Guy is in love with one girl, but there's another girl that kind of enters into his life. It has a whole Yakuza background where mob is involved. Like the mob wants them to pretend like they're engaged when it's all just a facade to keep the mobs from fighting each other. It's a love triangle, right? But reading that, there are similarities. The thing is I don't know, I like this one. It's not as ecchi as Love Hina. Like there's not full-blown, pretty much nude girls walking into the hot springs. There are moments where it gets a little ecchi in a sense, but not Love Hina level. But I could feel like this is more of a updated Love Hina to be more appealing to today's audience. So it makes me wonder if there's one out there that it could exist, is what I'm saying, basically.
Yeah, well, because that's what I said. The story in and of itself is really good. It's really solid. I could still see it being applicable today. I still think there's a story in this of somebody who wants to accomplish in a dream that they seem completely incompatible with.
Yes.
As a person, but still working really hard. Like like I said, we love our underdogs. So there's still a story there, I think.
Or just, I think the harem genre.
I love the rise of reverse harems. Let me just say it. Like,
that is great. But that's what I'm saying. I feel the genre is experimenting and changing too. Like, this is one of the earliest successful harem genres. And I think the reason I brought up Nisekoi, false love, is because it shows the genre trying to change a little bit. And I'm sure there's more recent ones that are playing with the genre as well.
I mean, because who doesn't want to be loved by a bunch of people? That's a good feeling that a bunch of people like you.
Yeah, it never happens to most people, but yeah, it's an interesting plot.
It's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy, yeah. I mean, it can be taken in a disgusting or immature way, but I don't know. I think Love Hina, honestly, compared to other harems, it doesn't really feel too much like a harem to me anymore because the other girls...
It doesn't, because it really is. It's Naru. It's Naru. It's Naru.
It's Naru, yeah. The other girls, it teases it and treats it as a comedy point, but...
One of them has a schoolgirl crush on him, but the others are like, ew, except for Sue, who has no boundaries. But I don't actually feel like she likes him, like actually has a crush, like romantic feelings.
Exactly. So it's Naru versus other harems where we put more of a, okay, more of the girls are in play. More of the girls could be the love interest. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
One question for the author, favorite Sailor Scout?
That's good.
Like, we can't not ask.
That's good.
You can't watch and not have one. Come on, give the goods. Give the people what they really want.
My question would be, and I'm sure if I dug hard enough, I'd find the answer, but I'm curious why he went with Negima, the series he created after Love Hina, with the Harry Potter-esque kind of influence, magic and stuff.
Yeah, he went from a very, very realistic, I'm studying for a university.
Well, we say realistic, but all of the scenes with Motoko and her sword, take that in the little moments and blow that up to a full, I think it's 28 volume series. And that's what and I didn't like the end of Negima. It kind of ended differently. That was like, eh. And it had its moments I really liked and I enjoyed some of the characters, but I felt it was always rushed. I don't know. I'm just curious why he shifted to that kind of genre, that kind of idea. It's still harem, but it's different. So I just asked him what inspired him to go that direction with Negima.
Was he burnt out and he was just like, I want something completely different, or?
Well, we also got to realize this guy, Ken Akamatsu, is not sitting by himself creating this. Mangas are a team.
They are, but they're not a big team.
I know. And he's the direct guy. I remember one in the Negima, they did a tournament, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he chose who fought who in the tournament, literally by rolling dice. And everyone in his whole team was like around like, ooh, who's going to be paired with who, right? So that was interesting. But I just asked him what inspired, like, why did you want to go to the magic route? Why did you want to go to this route where it's an English boy coming to Japan and teaching all these schoolgirls? Interesting choice. That's all.
Rating. Talking during a movie out of 10. And that's going to hit different people differently. For you, that's the deadly sin. You cannot stand people talking during movies.
I think it is one of the worst things you can do in the world, up there with whistling. Okay, here's the thing. It's not the talking. It's they don't have proper talking etiquette. I talk during a movie, but I know how to time it just right where it won't ruin the movie. I can't stand when people, there's an important scene and they turn and go, let me say a bunch of stuff about it. You're missing part of the movie when you do that. Anyways, we're going down my pet peeve hole. We don't need to do that.
And I did that on purpose because that is exactly how I feel about the fan service getting into the series. It's like, I feel like we get to book 3 and I'm like, I'm really invested in the story, but now we have to have this whole plot line about it's a mixed bath and no. I'm like, get back to the story.
Okay, as a teenage boy, that was the flavoring, the little salt and pepper on that.
I am not the demographic. I realize this.
I know, anyways.
I am not a 16-year-old boy, but that is my point. You have made it perfectly. Thank you.
My teenage nostalgia out of 10. Because there's a part of me, it's like, yeah, nostalgia is a bit where I want to give it a perfect score. But even as an adult, there's a reason I like this. I could see it still. There's still something in it that I enjoy. I don't consider it high art because being an English professor now, I have more nuance about what I look at as art.
With a capital A.
With a capital A, or literature with a capital L, and lowercase a and L, art and literature, which I'm fine with. And I see this isn't some like Shakespearean work. It's not something that has huge depth and meaning and changes culture and such a pivotal part of it. But still, looking back, I'm like, but I love it. It's good. It does something to me. It's a part of me. I can't take that out. And yeah, it's not some high art, but man, am I happy it came into my life. I know that sounds stupid and silly,
It doesn't.
It's a part of what made me me today. It's something that got into my personal zeitgeist, like my whole mentality and wiring and stuff. And it's not the ecchi stuff, of course, but the romance and the characters and stuff like that. They're cliche and predictable, and it's been redone a whole bunch of times. But it's like when you experience a cliche or a stereotype for the first time and you remember your first. Yeah, you know there's like 20 billion other versions of it out there, but this was your first. This is when you first got introduced to this type of character, this type of plot, or this type of story. That is this to me.
Yeah. To give anyone any sort of indication, Twilight was huge for me. Oh my goodness, we can have vampires, but they don't have to be the stereotypical vampires. We can have sparkly vampires and different eye colors. And for me, that was like, oh my goodness, a retelling could be different. And that was a huge thing for me. And we all know how people feel about Twilight. So
Exactly. I think that's a good example because I'm sure there's people out there that look at Twilight now and be like, oh my gosh, I was such a teenager. I was so into it. It feels a little silly now.
What do you mean there's a older teenager that falls in love with an infant?
I could see someone looking back at Twilight and as an adult realizing how cliche and silly it is. But then at the same time, they realize, but this is when I first got introduced to romance. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I do appreciate, like I said, the fact that this is 16 plus. I think that does make a very big difference, giving this book to a 16-year-old who's able to differentiate fantasy from real life versus getting this as a 10, 11, 12-year-old boy and thinking, oh, this is reality, and not being able to differentiate that. I do think that makes a very big difference. Although, like I said, we could have a whole conversation about how even then media still shapes our view of the world. But I don't think it's bad that you consumed this and you were like, this made my life better.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I'm sure he has plenty of people who could say that to him, and that's what really does it for him as an artist, is how his art and the emotional truth of it can impact others. So that's pretty cool. Read again. So this is shocking. You have read these over again several times, which is shocking.
I was about to say, do you want me to go first? Because yes, read again. I've read them again. I've read them multiple times. It's been a few years since I've read through them, but now that we're doing this, I'm going to read through them again. If anything, I might push you hard to do the next three so I can read the next three.
That's shocking because up to this point, you have a very staunch, I don't reread things because I feel bad because there's other books I need to be reading.
I think part is it's manga. It's not hard to read through them all. I could do it all in one day, in one sitting if I pushed myself.
Yeah, so that does help. But still, there are mangas you've read that you aren't going out of your way to reread either.
I put this with Animorphs. I reread my Animorphs a lot. And if you recall from the Animorphs series, yes, I reread those. I don't know. It's just such a part of me. Animorphs shaped who I am today. Love Hina shaped who I am today. You know, I could list out a few other books. Les Mis, I would one day probably read again because of how much it shaped me.
So I think that is something. For me, I might if this series gets better. If it keeps getting better. And let me say it like that, because I think 3 might be the strongest out of the 3 I read. So I don't know. I'll put it on pause. I will take it under advisement. We will see.
I honestly don't know how you're going to react to the rest of the series. You might be like, yeah, it improves, or you might be like, meh. I don't know. I can't gauge you sometimes.
I know. If that's what makes it so fun. But have you read this book? Kyoto or Tokyo? We had a little bit of a rivalry in here. No, I'm kidding. Do you have any book recommendations for us? Tell us all about it in the comments below. If you like the video, hit like. And if you're enjoying yourself, hit subscribe for more. Thank you for exploring Love Hina volumes 1 through 3 with us. Join us next time when we'll be covering Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren as we continue my crusade into modern romance. And I guess not so modern romance, but still. Hooray for me.
Hooray for you.
I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm James Reiner.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time. Escape With Me Book Club is a Lunar Skulk production. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok to keep up to date with us. Lunar_SKULK.